Welcome to a special edition of the Illegal Curve off-season series where we talk to Jets prospects, guys who are playing for the Moose, for the Jets, maybe going back to junior. Danny Zhilkin is expected to go to the Moose to start this season, but we'll see. You never know what happens in training camp. Danny, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. A little midsummer heat here in Manitoba, which we never complain about because we know what's coming around the corner.
That's nice. It's actually, I think it's just 19 today in Toronto, so it's kind of chilly, but it's been pretty hot lately too.
Yeah, we're doing some serious heat, some forest fires. Unfortunately, hopefully everybody is okay. But it's been a good summer so far. Let's start there. How has your summer gone so far?
It's been pretty well. Just training here in Toronto with Matt Nickel, gym and ice in the gym 5 times a week, Monday to Friday, and on the ice about 3-4 times a week. So it's been going pretty good. Same thing every day vibes where you wake up at 7, go to the gym, to the rink, and then come home to spend time with family, friends. So it's been pretty good.
Well, now that you've had some time, the season's been over for a bit. Now that you've had some time to reflect on your 22-23 season, it was a busy one for you. Obviously got traded in junior hockey, got the recall up to the Moose. Maybe just to, think about how did your game grow from the start of the season till the end?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good season for myself and Kitchener, where I finished as well. I mean, obviously starting out in Guelph, we didn't have the best team there, and we got rid of Sasha Passagov early in the season for a lot of picks, and I knew that the team was kind of going into a rebuild kind of stage, and GM kind of told me that a trade might happen, and then I'm going over to Kitchener. So obviously in Kitchener, I accepted a kind of a two-way role. They had a lot of, I think they had 2 or 3 50-goal guys there, so it was obviously pretty special to play with those guys, and I kind of accepted more of a shutdown guy role, and played penalty kill minutes and important shutdown minutes. So I think my game kind of elevated in the two-way game for sure.
We tend to think of trades as something that happens only in pro hockey, but of course it happens in junior hockey. So what was it like kind of being a little bit in limbo? Obviously you're trying to be present in Guelph, which is the team you've been with your entire junior career. And then knowing that, maybe one day you are going to hear your name get called and you're going to Kitchener.
Yeah, I've always said that my favorite rink to play that's not home in Guelph was Kitchener. So it was kind of it was pretty special to play there, especially in when we beat Windsor in Game 4. It was a sold out crowd. They were, it was super electric. So it was unbelievable to play every Friday night at home there. It was obviously pretty special. But huge shout out to my billets as well. I was actually able to stay at home in Guelph because it's so close. So they billeted me for the rest of the season, which was pretty special, and I owe it to them for sure.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that historic, that Game 4 sweep, because it was the first time an 8 had beat a 1?
Yeah, it was history in the OHL. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be pretty symbolic when you get a chance to tie yourself to that group of guys and know that you did something that in a league as old as the OHL has never been accomplished before.
Yeah, of course. I think we had a pretty tight group there, and just the first few games in the series, we obviously knew that we're going against guys like Shane Wright and Matthew Maggio, who they had obviously 100-point seasons, and Shane was on pace for 100 points. Obviously, he didn't play full season there, but it was just awesome to see. Every game we came out with the underdog mentality, obviously, and then just to pull that off, it was pretty special.
How important is that learning experience? Because one of the things, Moose head coach Mark Morrison talks about is the impact of a playoff series. And even though it's junior hockey, not pro hockey, how much do you think that can be applied to lessons later on in your hockey career?
Well, everything's just so much faster, and there's a lot less space and a lot more systems. So it's kind of, if you're, let's say, for example, if you're on pace for 100 points in the season, in playoffs, it's going to be like probably 60 or 70, maybe even less, because it's so tight, right? I mean, Obviously there's special players who can put up numbers, but you really rely on third, fourth liner guys where, everybody has a role no matter what kind of game or game situation it is. So it was obviously a great learning curve as well in Kitchener.
Well, going back to December, you signed your first ever pro contract. So with the Winnipeg Jets, of course, team that drafted you, 3rd overall in 2022. What was it like for you, that process? How long did it take? How involved are you? And what does it mean to you to have signed your first NHL deal?
Oh, it was incredible. It was about 10 p.m. I was just playing video games with a couple of buddies, kind of wrapping up the night. And my agent called me and said, I need you on a Zoom call ASAP. And then next thing I know, I see my parents there, and I kind of figured out that, this might be it. And he told me I'm signing my first pro contract, which was incredible. And, something you obviously dream of from when you're little, and hopefully there's a lot more to come from the contract side, and hoping to carry my game into Winnipeg and show myself pretty good.
Well, and one of the things you've touched on already, and I was reading about it in the Athletic, how you referenced yourself as accepting that two-way role with Kitchener, because, like you said, there's guys who could put the puck in the back of the net, and you wanted to add to your repertoire. So, how is it that you saw your game evolve and change in order to accept that? And it's something I was reading, again, I think in that same article about your coaches, and that they said you were so quick to adapt to new systems and new challenges in your hockey career.
Yeah, I think I've always been kind of a good two-way player, but in Guelph, where I was a first line guy playing first, playing 25 minutes a night almost, and getting those first power play minutes, and kind of, you can go out there and do kind of whatever you want type of feeling. I think it was actually pretty good for me to go into Kitchener and play those, two-way shutdown minutes where I'm first over the boards on the penalty kill, because moving on forward, I think that's going to be a huge part of my game. So it was awesome to see that in Kitchener, and something that'll, obviously stick with me throughout my career.
And then really at that point, it is funny. It's one thing Nate Schmidt talked to me about, I want to say a couple of summers back, when he was coming up as a young pro in Washington. He's a left shot guy, but their left side was completely locked. And he basically said, the coach said, "Can you play right side?" He goes, "I can now." And that's what he did, even though, he had to adapt. And that's like you said, that's one of the things the coach says to you. And I'm assuming that's not a volunteer thing. You're not like, "Hey coach, I can do this." It's more, "Danny, do you think you can handle this role?" And you say, "Of course I can."
Yeah, of course. I think it was, it was a little bit of an adjustment, obviously, because, I'm so used to playing those top line minutes where I'm on the power play first over the boards on the power play in Guelph. And, coming into Kitchener, I didn't really know what to expect. And it's kind of weird. Like when I got traded, the next day we were going up to the Sioux for a 5-day road trip, which was kind of a bummer. Obviously, you get traded and then you're on the road for 8 hours, which was obviously it was fun to actually hang out with the guys and kind of get to know them. But yeah, for sure it was a bit of an adjustment, but I think I adjusted pretty well.
So once your playoffs ended with Kitchener, you're assigned by the Jets to the Manitoba Moose. One thing, as someone who covers this Moose team for ever since they've returned to Winnipeg, they're an inclusive group, and they really do make guys feel welcome right away. And that's been a testament, especially. I don't know if it was a COVID thing when they were all kind of in that bubble together, but this group still to this day, they have a lot of guys like Malott and others, starting from Captain Jimmy Olney right on down, that doesn't matter if you're old or young, you're welcome. And how did you feel from, as a younger player, coming to that Moose group, and how did they make you feel included in the group?
Oh, it was incredible. I think actually first couple of days, I know it's not the guys, but Mark Morrison took us out for dinner, all the rookies that got called up. So that was pretty cool to spend time with him. And he kind of told us that, this is the pros now and you're taking care of yourself. There's nobody else to look out for, nobody's looking out for you anymore. And yeah, the guys were awesome. All the veteran guys like Harkins and Jimmy there, the captain, they were awesome for us, and they were super accepting. And seeing Jimmy at development camp, he was working out at the Winnipeg gym there. He always came up and always said hi and how we're doing. So it's awesome to see that.
Well, you've been in Canada since you were 9 years old. You got a fascinating story having come over from Moscow, but you obviously have the benefit of being able to speak Russian and English. How beneficial is that, for again a young group of some Russian prospects, fellow Russian prospects, including of course Nikita Chibrikov, and we'll get into your relationship with him in a second. But just that a benefit of being able to help these guys, acclimatize, because I mean I know Dimitri's been here for 2 years in Flint, but Nikita, of course, coming over for the first time this year.
Yeah, we were actually rooming with him in Winnipeg when we got called up in May. So that was kind of a reunion there. And yeah, if you look at the roster, I think there could be up to 4 Russian-speaking guys on the team this year. So it'd be pretty cool and pretty special to play with them. But yeah, it's been great at camp and everything. Just kind of joking around with them. But we try not to kind of limit our group to 4. We try to include everybody, and some guys try to speak Russian, so it's pretty funny.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because that's one of the things I've talked to a lot of the Swedish guys or Finnish guys, that they say that, what, even though it's nice to speak your own language and have guys who can give you that comfort of home, especially with this group, and again, I'm sure it happens in a lot of other hockey markets, but our focus is on this one. They do say that it doesn't really matter if you speak Swedish or Finnish or Russian or English. Everybody is intermingled and everybody's together.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is kind of the first step. I know there's like 1 or 2 imports in the CHL that you're allowed to have, and they could be speaking a different language, but here you're, in the pros, there's so many more imports that you kind of, you just adapt to their lifestyle, and everybody jokes around with everybody. As I said, some people try to learn Russian, or we're trying to learn Swedish and Finnish. So it's pretty special to see.
Well, the only Russian words I know are bad ones, so I'm not going to use them during this broadcast. Maybe I'll test them out on you after we're done.
Yeah.
But no, and one of the things I think, and I talked actually, we interviewed Vlad Nemesnikov on our show, and he, similar to you, had a mostly obviously Russian family, came over here to North America because his dad played pro hockey and then went back to Russia, came back over and played I believe junior. So he had that similar experience, but he said it was so beneficial to be able to have guys that like him. He said, I'm happy to if guys need me, guys need my assistance. So knowing that there is that resource, whether it's on the big team or again amongst you guys, it's got to be reassuring, because I think, and this is one of the things I asked them about, I think people take for granted how imposing it can be. Think about it, you're a Canadian kid, you play for Team Canada, you're used to this environment, but just imagine Nikita Chibrikov coming from Russia, and now he's dropped in Winnipeg, and he's got to adapt to this environment. And now he's got you, and it's lucky, and he's got Dmitry Kuzmin, but imagine he doesn't. Do you think that people misunderstand or just kind of take for granted that, hey, these guys can adapt easily? It's not that easy to adapt to a new city, a new culture,
Yeah.
a new language, and all of those other things that are associated with it?
Yeah, 100%. I think, when I came over to Canada, I was 10 years old, so I didn't really understand much. I just kind of did what my parents told me. But I can imagine if I came over, at the age I am now and not knowing how to speak English, I think it's super tough. And yeah, he's done a great job so far. And me trying to, I'm always there for him to help out if needed. But I think he's done a pretty good job, transitioning to Canada.
Well, and one of the things I learned, I listened to the guys at Level Flight who had you on previously, and I learned that you and Nikita played together on teams in Russia from the age of 4 to the age of 9. So when you got drafted, and he had already been drafted by the Jets, what was the messaging like, and what does that mean to you? That opportunity for a guy you obviously are close with to be able to try and become pros, or you're going to become pros, but actually get to that next level together here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's great, especially, we grew up together from 4 to 9, and then when I left to Canada, he stayed over in Russia for a little bit. But, especially we're training together all summer here, and it's been great to see. And Dmitry Kuzmin is there with us too, so kind of building that relationship even more is awesome. I'm hoping to, it's obviously hoping to be a lifelong friendship there, and we'll see how, trying to build that chemistry as well for next season. So hopefully it'll work out and show itself in the next season.
Danny, I mentioned that you were assigned by the Jets to the Moose. You didn't get into any of the games for Manitoba when they, went in their first round series with the Milwaukee Admirals, but you practiced with the team. So what was that like, getting a chance to, practice with these guys who are professionals every single day? And especially, as playoffs are going and the emotion is ramped up, what was it like for you? And what did you notice in terms of an adjustment practicing with juniors versus practicing with pros?
Yeah, I think it was a huge benefactor for me. I think coming from junior and seeing what the environment's like, especially in playoffs, and getting to travel with the team to Milwaukee, I think that was pretty incredible on the Moose part, kind of taking us under the wing and kind of showing us around. But yeah, it was awesome. I think it's just a lot faster and kind of stronger, and the practices I noticed are a lot crisper. So I kind of like kind of fast-paced practices. So I think I transitioned pretty well, but it was obviously a great learning curve.
Well, when a season comes to an end, and you always hope it goes as long as it can, teams hold exit meetings. So in this instance, again, you didn't play with them, so wasn't certain, but I figured I'd ask the question anyways. Did the Moose actually give you an exit meeting? And if they did, or even if they didn't, what were the areas they wanted, the organization as a whole wanted you to work on this summer?
I think the biggest thing they said was cardio and keep up the speed. I think I'm pretty fast forward, but they said it's such a hard. As I said, it's so tight and everything moves so fast that you really need good cardio. I think that was the biggest thing that Mike Keane and Jimmy Roy were telling me, and other guys as well. So I think that's the biggest thing I need to work on this summer, and I've been working pretty hard at that.
Well, I know you got a chance. I saw you in the press box for Game 3 of the Jets and Golden Knights series, which was, of course, going on at the same time the Moose were doing battle. So what was it like for you being in Canada life, getting a chance to, take away an NHL playoff game live, and also the crowd, and specifically, of course, the whiteout?
I've actually, before every game, I watch kind of a hype up video before my games in Kitchener, and one of the videos were the whiteout fans, and I was always kind of, I was expecting it would be obviously in a special environment, but seeing it live was actually incredible. I think it was the loudest building that I've ever been at, and it was awesome. It was so special to see.
especially the way the game went.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty cool.
You know, a season comes to an end and you head back home. So how soon do you start training again once you give your body a little bit of time to rest?
Yeah, I went to Mexico for a week, and I took another week off. I think for 2 weeks, I kind of did nothing, kind of relaxed and hung out with my family. But after that, it's five times a week in the gym and on the ice, kind of every other day.
Do you feel like this is a summer you're training any differently because you're preparing for the pros, or do you think it's, you're sticking with what has gotten you to this point in your career?
This summer, I've actually made the transition to Matt Nickel. I used to be at Garrett Roberts, so I
Okay.
think I owe it to my agency who set it up there. And this summer, I'm kind of really going into the season of you're training to take somebody's job now that it's the pros. You're kind of, in junior, obviously it's not easy to make a junior team, but then, once it's the pros, you're trying to make a living and trying to take somebody's job. So kind of making every rep count for sure. And, coming into the season and steal somebody's job.
We know there's a lot of guys in that Ontario region that you could be practicing. Are there any other, you mentioned Nikita and you mentioned Dimitri, are there any other Jets or Moose guys that are in the area that you see time to time and get a chance to train with?
Yeah, Cole Perfetti's at my gym as well. He's been
Okay.
a great mentor for me as well. He's always around, always saying hi, and I've been on the ice with him a couple of times at Power Edge Pro, the camp they have here. So it was cool to be on the ice with him.
Well, what have you noticed and what skills have you been able to pick up from the 2020 first rounder of the Winnipeg Jets? Because he's a skilled player, no question about it. So what kind of tips do you think you've been able to kind of glean from watching him or practicing with him?
I think his patience is awesome and his playmaking ability. Every time we play those scrimmages, he always makes the right play, and the patience he has with the puck is pretty cool to see.
Well, you were here in July, of course, for the development camp, which was the first time the teams held a development camp in 4 years. How was it? How nice was it, sorry, for you to be able to meet your fellow Jets prospects? Because again, some of them you may have known, but a lot of them you probably didn't. So from that perspective, to get a chance to meet these guys, what was it? What did that mean to you?
It was awesome. I think I felt a lot more comfortable this year coming in from last year's main camp, obviously, and
Mhm.
just kind of carrying that confidence as well and trying to do the best I can. But yeah, hanging around guys like seeing McGrody for the first time. I didn't get to see him at the draft there in last summer, but yeah, him and Barlow we kind of stuck close together, so it was pretty cool to hang around with those guys.
Yeah, well, those guys were they were like Step Brothers, the movie or something like that. They were quite the characters, and
Yeah,
maybe you guys are a trifecta. But I mean, it is important, right? Because like I said, it's to me the not having development camps obviously because of COVID, and last year the Jets didn't hold it because of their injury situation, and a lot of you guys were with the team, so they didn't really need to evaluate you guys in that environment. But the what it was missing, it was critical because like I said, to not really know guys, you text a guy here or there, but this way you're meeting them and you're developing a relationship with them on and off the ice. And yeah, you're right, you're competing, but it's really important to develop these relationships because for some of these guys, I mean, you could be connected to them forever, but you might be, really kind of brothers in arms for 5, 10, 15 years.
yeah, it's awesome. We're here trying to achieve the same goal, not only playing for the Jets, but also win the Stanley Cup. So it's great to kind of build those relationships early for sure.
And so I know the Jets took you to various spots. You went to a Gold Eyes game. They took you out for restaurants. Mark Morrison took you out. Hopefully, picked up the bill. Nice big bill for the team. But what were some of your impressions of Winnipeg? I know you were here for main camp last year, but the opportunity to kind of take it at a more relaxed pace. It's a little different than training camp where everybody's on edge a little bit with training camp. Whereas here, I mean, again, you want to perform. All eyes are on you, and the brain trust is there. But it's a different feel, I think, than training camp.
Yeah, for sure. I think the main takeaway from Winnipeg, I always tell everybody that the food is unbelievable, no matter where you go. And we went, I believe it was Frankie's. It was just right across the street from the hotel. It was an
Yeah.
Italian place, and that food was probably some of the best Italian I've ever had. And obviously, the people are amazing and super friendly. So it's amazing to go into an atmosphere like that.
Well, and it kind of makes my next question an easy one because to me that's part of what is so important about this development camp. As much as it is about you guys, as much as it is about the team evaluating you guys, I really think, and this is my own personal opinion, that it really is about creating a relationship with the fans. And I think that not, unfortunately with COVID, it really removed players and fans from each other. And now you have an opportunity to connect. And whether it was you or Colby Barlow or Rutger McGorty, I don't know what, but you guys just seemed to connect. Maybe it was the absence of it, but it just seemed that everybody who was out at the Iceplex, you guys were all there. You stayed till the end. Brad Lambert, like all of the guys, I could name everybody because everybody did it. And you guys were signing autographs, taking pictures. So what did that mean to you to experience that? And how important do you think that is for creating that connection with the fan base?
Yeah, it was awesome to see the sport for sure. I think kind of shocked me the first practice for development camp when we came out, and it was basically a full practice rink of people, which was, something I didn't really expect. I know for main camp, a lot of fans showed up, but those were NHL guys that they're looking for, and then now they're showing up just for kids basically that are still prospects and still young. So it was awesome to see, and obviously it was great to sign a lot of things and interact with them for sure.
Well, Canada's a hockey mad market. We talk about it. Winnipeg's a very passionate fan base. What's it like having fans? What's it like to see a guy wearing a Zhilkin jersey? What's it like signing a Danny Zhilkin hockey card? What's it like having a hockey card? Is that still a little surreal for you? Or are you kind of, I mean, I'm not saying accepting it because nobody takes it for granted, but is what does that mean to you to have people looking up to you, whether they're young or old?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think, obviously having that in junior, I'm kind of adjusted now, but obviously hoping one day to have somebody wear a Winnipeg Zhilkin jersey for sure. That would be the goal. But yeah, it's great to see. I think, especially being in Kitchener, playing in front of 9,000 people every home game, and in playoffs where they were singing the goodbye song to Windsor with the full stands, it was obviously pretty special to see. And it's basically fuel for you when you're on the ice, and there's dying minutes of the game when you have no energy. Those are the people that push you and kind of make you achieve more.
Well, I've noticed in junior, at least, I looked prior to, but it didn't seem that you had a consistent number. But I noticed you wore 17 in junior. You wore it for Team Canada. You wore it for the Moose. So is there something special about the number 17, or is it just one that happened to be available?
I'm not going to lie. I think I was just the number I wanted to wear. I thought it looked pretty cool, and I thought it suited me. I wore it for Team Canada at the under 17s. I had a great tournament there, and when I first got drafted to the Guelph Storm, it was unavailable. I think I was going to pick 17, but I had to stick with 9 for the season. So, yeah, 17 I think is an awesome number. I think it suits me pretty well.
All right. Well, you might have to fight Adam Lowry for it, but that may be a few years from now. So we'll see. But one of the things that you started with your girlfriend Lauren Schoss is the idea of Zhilkin's vision, and I want to make sure I got it right. Well, before we get into the mantra of it, maybe just tell some folks what it is all about and how you started it.
Yeah, it was started August 2022, right after the draft, a month after the draft. It's a mental health association focused on destigmatizing and promoting mental health in sports, not just hockey. So with the first fundraiser that we did, it was a jersey raffle. We raised almost $1,300 for Canadian Mental Health Association. We've gained almost 500 followers on Instagram and a ton of support from family and friends. So it's been pretty awesome to see so far.
So how is that? And again, like I said, like I got it from the thing, striving for the destigmatization, I should be able to pronounce that, and prioritization of mental health in sport. So how do you achieve that? How do you, do you talk to other players? Is it practical? Is it creating, I know your girlfriend's in that field, but is that something that you guys have resources online? Or is it something that, hey, a guy walks up to you and says, Danny, I'm da, 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 and then you kind of put him in touch?
Yeah, for sure. I think Lauren's obviously done a tremendous job. Sorry, with doing all the posts, and kind of she's obviously in that space. She's going to be a sports psychologist. She's in a doctor program now, so she'll be a fully licensed doctor there. And yeah, just kind of having my platform of a professional athlete now, it was kind of, I think it was great to kind of combine those two platforms and kind of speak out on that. I think it's a super stigmatized kind of topic, and I think the community has been doing a great job of kind of promoting it more, but I think there's obviously a lot more to come.
Now, a lot of guys just want to play hockey. A lot of guys just want to focus on their career and getting to the next level, and I know you're one of those guys who wants to focus on that, but it is admirable and it is difficult to take on something like this. I'm not saying it takes up a ton of your time, but do you think that's something that your generation is a little bit more cognizant of? Because to me, and I remember when Cole Perfetti was, speaking of Cole Perfetti, he was coming up. He had an initiative with his club, and I thought it's unusual. Like, guys generally at that age don't necessarily have the insight to say, "Hey, I want to help," but he did that, and you're doing that. Do you think that's something that? And I'm not maligning other generations, but I just think that you guys are a little bit more aware of the importance of contributing and not just being focused on a one dimension, which is of course a difficult dimension of being a professional athlete?
Yeah, I think it kind of started when I got to Guelph and just seeing how much the team is involved in the community. I think that kind of opened my eyes on, you're not only here to play hockey, but you're here to make connections as well. And as we talked about the fans already, I think it's huge to kind of connect with them. And I think giving back to community is something I love to do. I love being involved in the community, and I think Zhilkin's vision is a great way to do that.
All right. Well, you don't have lots of summer left, but what is the plan for the rest of the summer?
I think I'm training for 2 or 3 more weeks, and then I'm going down to Winnipeg. I think around the 10th. So it's pretty exciting times, and I can't wait to get down there for sure.
Now, Danny, just quickly, are you the type of guy who sets goals? Do you don't have to list them. You don't have to tell us what your goals are because they're personal to you. But do you goal set ahead of each season?
I think so. I think it's not a lot of, it's not really point goals. I think it's just goals that kind of, I want to carry myself as a person with. And I think, as I said already, I'm fighting for a job on the Moose, not only on the Moose. And a couple of years go by, it's going to be the Jets. So I think I'm coming into the season fighting for a job. It's obviously I know we're gonna have a special group of guys, and they're my teammates, but we're all competitive guys, and fighting for jobs now. So I think that's gonna be the biggest thing coming into the season.
Well, and I'm going to end on this because I think it's an interesting point. It's one thing I've talked about with the Jets' defensive prospects, with whether it's Ville Heinola, Simon Lundmark, Tyrell Bauer. I don't want to forget anybody because they'll be upset that I've left them out. But the point is that, and funny because one of my head, right now in my head, I'm like, I know I'm missing one of the guys. Oh, Declan Chisholm, of course, he'll never let me forget that one. But those guys all have different skill sets, and yet they can learn from each other, even though they're competing. Do you similarly, because this Moose group looks like it's going to be a young group, it's going to be a fun group, there's going to be a lot of skill on that group, and I'm not going to list them all, but you've got Lamberts, you got Lucius, you got yourself, you got Chibrikov, you got a lot of guys, Torgerson, Nikkinen. So that's just the young Jets prospect group. Do you look at it as an opportunity? Because you're right, you're all kind of competing to get that next level. You have to help each other out. But more importantly, do you want to learn something that maybe is not necessarily in, kind of like what we're talking about with Cole Perfetti, not necessarily in your toolbox right now, but hey, you're looking at Nikita and you're like, this guy can do this. I need to learn how to do that. Or, Brad or Chaz can do that. I'd love to learn how to do that. Do you see that as an opportunity this year to learn and grow with that group?
I think so. I think it's been huge. And as I said, coming down to Winnipeg in May and being a part of the Moose team, I think that, kind of set off that, you're starting in pro now and you can kind of pick things from everybody, but seeing guys like Harkins and with the speed and plays and his dynamic there was awesome to see. But yeah, younger guys as well, like Nikita, he's got an awesome shot. So I've been working on my shot all summer. I think I'm a great two-way player, but having that offensive tool would be pretty awesome as well.
All right. Well, Danny, we appreciate you joining us here with Illegal Curve Hockey. I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot throughout the course of the winter, much to your chagrin, but you'll be hearing from me quite a bit. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you in September in Winnipeg.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.